Michigan Magazine is kept on the road by our many Michigan friends. Cops and Donuts Bakery, downtown Clare, a winning combination. Cops and Donuts. Something special's cooking, hot and delicious. Indulge yourself at Morning at Maggie's in Bay City. Omelets, frittatas, hotcakes, and more. Make every day special with a stop at Morning at Maggie's for breakfast or lunch on Saginaw in Bay City. Rose Valley Winery on Beechwood Road in Rose City. See what thousands are raving about, creating a delicious variety of award-winning Michigan wines. Stop by and taste for yourself. The taste of Michigan is yours at Rose Valley Winery. On this week's Michigan Magazine, we bring you cowboy action with special guest silver screen star Gabby Hayes, or a reasonable facsimile of Gabby. He's Alan By, a Gabby lookalike who is part of our big cowboy weekend and extravaganza at the newest Michigan family attraction, Coopersville Old West Town. Alan shares with us his world of cowboy lookalikes and the amazing never-before-known facts about the real Gabby Hayes, George Francis Hayes. But first, we're drawn to Elk Rapids, Michigan by the beautiful chiming of handcrafted bells by an amazing bell maker, Mike Winters. It's all coming up on Michigan Magazine. Cops and Donuts Bakery, downtown Clare. What began as a crazy idea among 9 police officers to purchase the historic Clare City Bakery quickly became an international phenomenon, carrying on a Michigan tradition with delicious donuts, pies, pastries, breads, original coffee, and more. Plus a full menu at the new adjacent Traffic Stop Diner. Downtown Clare, a winning combination. Cops and Donuts. Introducing the Weed Gator. For safe and easy aquatic weed removal, the Weed Gator is the #1 alternative to harsh chemicals for getting rid of pond and lake weeds. Safe and effective. See it in action now at weedgator.net. Made in the USA. If ever you hear the distant toll of a bell in perhaps, say, Portugal or even Manila, there is a chance that bell was forged near the shores of Lake Michigan in the small community of Elk Rapids. Not a great chance, but a possibility. This is Mike Winters. He's been casting bells for over 20 years, and from his small foundry that he's constructed in the work building just outside his back door, Mike has created solid aluminum bells that have been shipped to places like Portugal and Manila, and Alaska, California, and Long Island, as well as numerous Michigan locations. Who in the world would have thought that Elk Rapids would be the home of a unique artisan like this? Mike, it's a pleasure to meet you. How are you this morning?
Thank you, Barry.
A little chilly this morning, but where you work, we've got a little foundry action going on, a little warm, because you actually make these from raw aluminum, is that right?
That's correct.
Tell us, how did you get into this craft?
About 25 years ago, I was working in a foundry, and that's where I learned it. And when one of the guys had brought a bell in, and we, on what they call the government project, for the We the People project, well, we started making our own bells on the side and so forth. And they were making them out of gray iron, and then when they'd ring, they'd go clunk. And so then I said, well, I'm going to make mine out of aluminum, and they said, well, it won't be any different. And we poured mine out of aluminum, and everybody was really surprised as to how they rang. And so then people would ask me, can you get me one? And the company I worked for was real good about letting you make something for yourself, but they didn't want to make one for every one of your cousins.
Right.
So anyhow, I started doing it at home. And I started making parts for the company.
So from an actual foundry worker there, you became kind of a subcontractor of the foundry, making them at home. Well, that's interesting. Now, aluminum, and they were making them out of what now?
Gray iron.
Gray iron.
Cast iron.
And it does make a definite difference in the sound, right?
Just a
bad clunk sound. But this is a very clear resonance in these bells. Tell us now, what would a bell like this be used for? What do they use bells now for mostly?
For calling the kids from the beach.
Aha! Kind of a beach bell, eh?
Kind of a beach bell. Calling kids from the neighborhood, calling dad from out in the back 40, and so forth.
Well, I got
or just a decoration on the house.
Yeah, decoration on the house. Well, you know, recall days of the old farm when everybody's on the field, and there was a bell was used for that too, or one of those triangle things. And it's kind of a lot of history into it, and there's shit bells too that are kind of similar to this. But you do the whole operation from your home. Tell us, what's the basic steps to making a bell?
Sand casting, sand and a little bit of clay and water to make the sand pack together, which we'll see shortly. And then packing the sand around a pattern, removing, the sand will be in a 2-part, remove the pattern, put the sand back together, and pour the molten metal in. And when the molten metal solidifies, you have a casting, what they call a casting. That word came about because you cast the metal into the mold.
Into the mold.
And that's what where the word casting came up.
My goodness. So you've taken this a little bit further in your steps by actually customizing these. Like you can put actual letters on, and how much of a job is that? I mean, is this a little artistic work on your part? Or?
This came about because of a customer. The customer asked me if I could put letters on his bell. And from there, we evolved into this. And up to about 26 spaces here with his name, her name, you're married. We make something that says Grandma Place, Welcome Friends. We're going to make one that says Michigan Magazine.
Oh, there you go. And call all our viewers to the screen there. Time for Michigan Magazine. How many separate parts does it take to cast a bell like this?
In one of my molds, I get 4 of the wall mounting brackets. This is one mold, this is a mold, and then the clapper and the yoke are another mold. And there's about 45 minutes of casting time. That doesn't count the grinding and the drilling and the tapping. The actual casting time to make a bell.
So there's more to it than actual eye. I mean, there's a little work after it's all cast, filing perhaps, and
yes, and tumbling and painting and so forth. And there's an eye bolt that holds the whole thing together up in here. The eagle is tapped on the bottom.
How long have you been doing this, Mike, now?
About 25 years. About that. I made my first bell in '76.
It doesn't look like you're going to be retiring anytime soon from this part.
From this part, no. I plan on going full bore into this, about 20 months from now.
Oh, really? Well, there you go. It's quite the hobby. It's something you love to do, too, isn't it?
It'll keep me off the street.
You know where Mike's at when you hear the bell clanging here. That's a lot of history and a lot of uniqueness in it, but I've never heard of it being run out of someone's home like you do and doing a real customized job here. I mean, that's a unique project you've got here. Mike, can we see the process? Let's go through some of the steps, if you don't mind, here this morning.
Let's go out to the foundry.
Okay.
Now this is a commute to work that I think no one would mind doing each morning. As you can see, once outside the door, we were no more than 50 feet from the shop.
This is the foundry over here, eh, Mike?
This is the foundry.
This is where we put her together here. It's warm here in the summer, winter. Okay, Mike, this is where it all comes together here. This is the machine shop you got here, right? And this is these are parts that have already been through the tumbler, right?
Yes, these are the wall mounting brackets.
Oh, okay. All right, what's the first step in making a bell here, Mike?
Getting to the send.
Okay.
And the molding machine.
Okay.
And making a mold and getting it, melt the metal and pour it.
Okay.
Well, as we soon realized, Mike made it sound much easier than what it was. His over 2 decades of bell making was the reason for that. As we watched the process from mold making to pouring the liquid aluminum, Mike made it very clear that knowing what you're doing at precisely the right time was essential when it came to temperature of the aluminum when pouring and making sure all his tools and molds were moisture-free. Moisture and hot metals do not mix. They explode.
How hot is it?
We're coming up close to 1,500 degrees, which is quite a bit hot.
A bit hot?
I want these first castings I pour, I want them to be just under 1,300 degrees. So we'll cool it off.
Mike's expertise in working with aluminum has developed into other specialty orders coming his way, including reproducing irreplaceable certain pieces of antique collectibles.
This is for an antique gas pump part. It goes on right on the top of the pump. Also, I put these threads in here for the guy. I've molded a piece of pipe right in the mold. The threads are already, that gives the threads right now. And so, of course, you can't see it there. C gauge must be full before and after serving. You used to see it on all the gas pumps.
Well, as Mike promised, he created a special Michigan Magazine bell with the year Dell and I started the program back in 1989, cast right on the yoke. After pouring hot aluminum, it didn't take long to cool so we could take a look.
It doesn't take aluminum long to set like that, does it? I mean, it's just a few
10
minutes.
minutes. Well,
10
it's
minutes?
still going to be plenty warm, but it solidifies shortly.
Wow. All right.
comes the stirrup.
Oh, yeah, this is slipping out. There you go. Michigan Magazine, 1989. That's the year that we first started filming there.
You want it?
Can I hold it?
No.
No? I was going to say no.
Unless you pair of gloves on.
If you're interested in more information about Mike and his bell making, you might be able to catch him and his lovely wife of 40 years, Joyce, at certain arts and crafts and maritime shows throughout the state of Michigan. And you'll be interested in knowing that Mike is starting to do a very brisk mail order business. Here we go. Well, you can't miss this place in Elk Rapids here. We'd like to thank Mike and Joyce Winters from the Elk Rapids area, producers of the fine bells, a Michigan-made product. Joyce and Mike,
thank you.
Thank you for the hospitality. Thank you.
Michigan Magazine is being brought to you in part by Clemick Sales and Service on Mapes Road, west of Mile, your complete recreational vehicle sales and service connection. Visit their beautiful showroom of new and pre-owned ATVs, lawnmowers, power equipment, snowmobiles, utility vehicles, and more. Clemick Sales and Service is also the home of the American-made Victory motorcycle line on display at Clemick's on Mapes Road, Mile. Hale Hardware, your do-it-center in Hale, Michigan. Much more than a regular hardware store, providing everything you need for whatever your project is, along with a knowledgeable sales staff to get her done. Serving Northern Michigan since 1946. Hale Hardware, south of M65 at Ainsley in Hale. Flu season. Be prepared. Get your immunizations now at Rose City Drug, your one-stop pharmacy, home health care, and medical supply outlet, offering a variety of on-site immunizations. Walk-ins are of course welcome. Call now for more information. On Michigan Magazine, we've shown you that dreams do come true in the story of Michigander Spike Cooper, whose determination brought about an old west town that has drawn the curious and fellow dreamers to this out-of-the-way wilderness oasis of days gone by. We've also brought you the story of how another man's dream of bringing Old West heroes of the silver screen back to life for a new generation to appreciate and emulate in an annual Cowboy Days celebration. Clifford Parent of South Branch, also a Michigan Magazine producer, started bringing cowboy lookalikes to Michigan celebrations over 14 years ago, each year delighting kids and kids at heart. 2015 was a very special year when these two dreamers came together. Cliff and crew coordinated and made it possible for his cowboy lookalike heroes to not only make their regular appearances in Ogemaw and Clare counties, but also an entire day was spent in Oscoda County at Coopersville, Old West Town. It was a big finale of the weekend. It took the Cowboys to Parkview Acres in Lupton, Lovewell's Corners, Clare, Michigan, then of course Coopersville, USA.
Good day if you do.
Hero lookalikes included Annie Oakley, the Lone Ranger, Lash LaRue, Gene Autry,
Where the longhorn cattle feed on the lowly gypsum weed. Back in the saddle again.
Tom Mix, Gabby Hayes,
Yes, sir, Bob.
John Wayne, Rooster Cogburn, Matt Dillon, the Four Vigilantes, Gus, a Native American reenactor. Thousands turned out to greet and meet the Cowboys, get their autograph, and take pictures and selfies to preserve the memories. There were barbecues, knife and hatchet throwing, a laser shooting gallery, fast draw demonstrations, bank robberies, Main Street shootouts, and buckboard rides. And all in all, the good guys prevailed. It was a dream weekend for many, including the hero lookalike themselves. Many of them growing up when those heroes they were portraying graced the silver screen. On upcoming Michigan Magazine shows, we'll take a moment to get to know some of the lookalikes to find out what portraying the heroes of yesteryear means to them. Today we talk with Alan By,
who portrays the sidekick Gabby Hayes.
Well, what happened is originally I was going to the Roy Rogers Festival in Portsmouth, Ohio. And this man said, well, you want to take some pictures? And I said, well, I don't look like Roy because I have a beard. And he said, well, you could get fat, you can be Andy Devine. I said, well, no, I don't want to do that. So I come up with this Gabby Hayes outfit. So I went to Portsmouth to take my picture with him. Well, he didn't show up. And then I got into a costume contest. I won, and then I got invited to a festival, and once I started going to festivals, I kept getting invited more and more and more. So 20 years later, here I am still doing it.
There you go. What would you say would be the finest attribute of Gabby that kind of attracts people the most? Besides his beard.
Besides his beard, his personality is yes sirree, Bob, and his humor. He could be funny, he could be serious. Whatever you needed for his part, he could do.
Yeah.
In reality, he had been a vaudeville actor and stuff, so he could tap dance, he could sing. Yeah, so when they did singing musicals with Roy and Dale, they could use him to sing and dance and stuff. He did in a Song of Arizona, he did a tap dance with a little boy. They were doing a Halloween thing, and he had a coonskin cap on and two guns, and both of them got out and did a little tap dance and stuff. So he was extremely talented. See, he had been on stage for 25 years before he ever went to Hollywood.
No kidding. A lot of these things people don't realize.
Yep. He had a long career. He had retired from the stage and come out west, and then he got into movies and stuff. So, and he kind of did a lot of different movies, and then he got into westerns. He started doing westerns with John Wayne, and then it kind of picked up from there. And then he worked with Hopalong Cassidy as Wendy Holiday, and he became a big star. And the producers weren't real thrilled because he was getting a lot of other offers, so he left them, went to Republic Studios with Roy and them guys, and they let him do movies with Roy and Randolph Scott and John Wayne and whoever he wanted, because it was great advertisement for them, and he was real popular in those movies. He did about 170 movies.
Oh my goodness, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And he did a TV show later on after he got out of movies and stuff. As a matter of fact, for a year, he was replacement for Buffalo Bob on Howdy Doody show because Buffalo Bob had a heart attack. So they called him to substitute with Howdy Doody for a year.
As Gabby Hayes?
As Gabby Hayes, yep.
No kidding. Well, that's a classic. We'll have to check it out.
I've never seen any of the episodes, but I've seen his TV show. He didn't play a part. They would take a movie like a Buster Crabbe movie or a Lash LaRue movie, and then they would cut it into a half an hour, and he'd fill in the gaps, and then he'd have his stories and what have you.
Yeah. Well, that's great to bring back the Old West for the new generation. A lot of people
we hope
don't
so.
realize that this generation of silver screen heroes was out there. I mean, it's something that has got to be renewed and let people know
I think so.
There's different type of attitude back then. You knew when the bad guys were the bad and the good guys were the good.
It was always values about right and wrong.
Yeah.
And you knew who the good guys were, you knew who the bad guys were, and the good guys were going to do good. They weren't going to all of a sudden change and become a bad guy.
The Michigan-made rebounding mailbox pull. Never again worry about the winter snowplow taking out your mailbox with this ingenious rebounding pull. Your mailbox takes a hit and keeps coming back year after year. Call now or visit their website, toughmailboxes.com. Experience the beauty, artistry, and taste of Northern Michigan. Come to Amish Country Natural Products on Mount Tom Road, north of Mile, just off M33. From arts and crafts to fresh foods and vegetables, all natural, all local, all good. Stop by and get acquainted with Amish Country Natural Products, 1454 North Mount Tom Road, Mile.
Vacation. Don't make the planning of it more than what you're trying to get away from. At northernmichigancabinrentals.com, you can choose from over 2,500 cabins, cottages, lodges, resorts, lakefront vacation home rentals, and more. Whatever experience you're looking for, from rustic to luxury and everything in between. No more rustling with telephone books. No more endless internet searches. Just one site with over 2,500 Northern Michigan destinations. northernmichigancabinrentals.com.
Thanks for joining us this week. For more information on today's program, email us at michiganmagazine@gmail.com or visit our website, thespiritofmichigan.com. Now here comes your chance to win a delicious meal from a great Northern Michigan eatery, either the Cedar in Lupton with a full line of delicious delicacies or a certificate to enjoy something from the world-famous Tally's Log Cabin in Lewiston. All you have to do is send this week's phrase, Happy First Week of 2016, with your name and address to the email or postal address listed here. If your name's picked in our random drawing, you're a winner. We'll see you next week. We'd like to thank all those that help keep Michigan Magazine on the road. Cops and Donuts Bakery, downtown Clare, a winning combination. Cops and Donuts. Hingeman Acres Canoe Livery and Resort on M33 just north of Mayo, catering to the outdoor enthusiasts. Cabins, canoes, kayaks, rafts, and more. Daytime or overnight trips along the world-famous Asabo River. A family getaway for over 75 years.